everyone. So today we cover for Infosys interview question 2022, which are asked that question like six question asked during the my interview for the 3 year of experience. Mm. So I tell you line by line all the topic. Mm. So you can see in my screen they ask totally six question in my interview. So I explain you line by line each concept with the example, right? So and if you are new to that channel, right, please subscribe and like and comment the video, right? I really happy to help you, right? I have total 6 year of experience. I work like more than 4 to 5 MNCs, and I have cracked like more than 15 interview during my like experience, right? So I explain you so you can ask anything regarding javascript, angular, reacts, right? So basically the front end developer part, right? So I explain you first the question. So go through the question, explain the concept of the dependency injection, di, right, in the angular, or how you implement, right? So dependency injection nothing is but design pattern used in the Angular to achieve inversion control, right? IOC control between the classes and their dependency. Instead of class creating its dependency, they are injected by external source and promoting loose coupling and enhancing testability, right? So that the definition for that, right? Instead of creating like between there is some concept between classes, right? You in the you need to in TypeScript you make classes, right? And their dependency, right, creating and they injected by the external tool, right? So just like that, if you make any services, I show you the from the example. Let's say import injectable, right? Injectable. So injectable nothing is but that is part of Angular core library from at the rate Angular. So that is very important, right? You need to know like which library is part of that, right? So while the defining, so and also you need to write that pattern, right? Injection injectable, right? So you define that and copy directly into that injectable, right? You define that part, and after that you need to provide, right? So provide nothing but you need to define for the root, right? So let's say provide 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 in root root, right? So like that you need to define it, and after that make a class. Let's say you export the that class, right? Export, because you make a service, right? So how you utilize that service? Yeah, so you need to make a class for that service, and in the constructor section, right, you need to define that services and like subscribe that data from that component. So that is also part of like how you communication between two component, right? So there is many way like parent to child, child to parent, making us services, right? So service is nothing but is the business logic for that any component, right? So you need to make a business logic. Let's say you define a data like function, right? So in that function return a data, right? Let's say data 1 2 3. I make a array, return a function array data 1, data 2, similarly make data 3. Mm, mm. So that it is a way you need to make a dependency injection, right? How you inject, right? And after that, let's say you make a some component. After you making the data services, right? So how you retrieve uh, that data from the services, right? So let's say we have a component, a data component, right? Data component. So let's say in data component we have, right? So in the data component you need to import first of all component on in it on in it, and that is also part of Angular core, right? From at the rate Angular Angular core, right? So similarly, if you bind the data, let's say we have HTML in the HTML in the HTML, right? You need to add uh, UL and UL and li tag. Let's say you make, let's say in li make a directory like ng for loop directory. mm, Inside you need to bind that property whi- which are I make. So here you need to make some data, right? First of all, inside export class data component, right? In component implement, if you implement any lifecycle hook method, let's say ng on init, right? Init, let's say data data we have string type, right? String array type, we have data, right? And in the constructor private is basically access modifier, right? Data service. So while the writing the code you need to know what was the work of the at least. So there is three type of access modifier: private, protected, right, and public. So there private means you not share like there is some security purpose, it will share only within the component, right? data service. Hmm. After the defining the inside the constructor, right? See in ng unit, because while the calling or loading the component, it will call ng unit, right? Lifecycle hook method if you define that. So let's say we make a data, right? So we append that data, dot this dot data. Hmm. And after that, that data what we defined data service. So this dot, and what I make inside the get data, right? So get data. So yeah, so here you can see, right, we make a get data, and in the HTML part, let's say let item of data, right, and print the item. So it will print data 1, data 2, data 3, right? So how you make, right? First of all, you make a services, right? Data service. So you return that data, data 2, data 3, data 4, right? Anything. Hmm. And after that you making data in there is which component you need to render in that component, like export that class and define the data type, right? And in the constructor you need to define your services, and after the services you subscribe that services in JUnit, and here you need to bind the data in HTML part, right? So similarly you can bind the data, right? So so you need to and services, and that second part also cover, right, in the question, right, how you make a services and how you do that thing, right, in constructor, how injecting the constructor, right? So there two question is cover, and di how the di is work, right? So that is a thing, right? And in the second third question, how does Angular change detection work, right? So what was the change detection thing, right? So Angular change detection mechanism is the responsible for synchronization the model, right, application state view that display screen. Yeah, so we go through the change detection technique, right? So ensuring that the changes application state are automatically reflected into view and the application string, right? So there is mechanism for that, like zone.js, right? Zone.js used for the interceptor asynchronization operation, right? Just like that HTTP request, set timeout, trigger, right? So that is come under the zone.js, right? Change detection tree, right? Angular create a tree component, so it will create a tree like that, right, as the dome, right, and component where each node when occur, right, Angular check each node, see the node is updated. So that is a change detection technique, right? So there two like change detection strategy is default, right? Angular check every component is the first is default, right? uh, First is default, and check the every component in the change detection tree for the changes. So you need to you see, right, how you make a chain detection thing, right, here mechanism. Right. Let's say we make a default, right, initial data, and after the updating the data, this dot data, and inside that you need to make updated data. Updated data. Hmm. Yeah, so that is for the basic thing, right? How Angular default strategy for that, right? So you you need to call default strategy, right? So that is a default strategy. So on push, you need to just there is some common common change on the push, like, right. So after the comma, define change detection strategy, right? Change detection. Hmm. And after that, that change detection strategy. So in that capital C, so you need to know like how you write, right, the which are the small, and because that is a case sensitive, right? You need to know which part is small, which part is. So while the practicing, you writing the code, right? So you practice as much as possible. So it will be going to be habit for you. Yeah. So that is by default. But if you add the chain detection here, right, push on push thing, right, so it become on push. And here, so here you need to remove that one, right. So here just add input decorator, input data, that is part of string type. Hmm. So so now it is work as a on push thing, right? On push Angular check only the component input change, right? Event ordinate from the component. Yeah, so in the sixth question, I cover the lazing loading, right? So lazing loading, nothing but you need to load only the required component, right? You not load a whole component. So as previously I said, right? So in that, there is basic command of creating the lazy loading module, right? So the first, like nggc g means generate, right? So first features, right? Feature is a name of module, right? It is needed, right? And the route features is a create a route for the lazy loading, right? Create features, right? And module app, right? So that is basically a registry, right? Registry lazy loading module, right? app.module.ts it will create it, right? So that is a thing, right? So lazy module delay loading the features module until they need it, right? It will reducing the initial load time, right? So how you define the lazy loading module, right? So let's say const you make a, I show you the example how you make the lazy loading routes, right? Routes. So path. So how you write, you need to define the features and load children. So yeah, so in that module, right, in the path load children, right, how they you need to write, right? First of all, you need to give the path. First, you need to run that command, right? And in the side the command, you need to give the path and load children, right? After the loading, which module you load, right? You need to give your path and module name, right? So that way. And they also ask that way, right? How you improve your application performance, right? So you can give the example also for like implement the lazy loading, and also enable IoT compiler, right? I hate time of compiler, right? Second one. So I hate time compiler is the faster rendering browser, right? So how you build ng build, right? Simple command AOT, right? Implement optimization technique that significantly enhance your performance, right? So this kind of example you can give, right? And they ask mainly this question, right? And also they ask about the reactive form module is very important, right? So you need to know like how what was the reactive form. So the reactive module is imported, right? A form group validator, right? This kind of largely use, right? Load children, right? So what was the bind parent to component and child input decorator output decorator? This kind of question they ask, right? So be prepared of this kind of mm, and they also ask interceptor, right? Interceptor also a good concept, right? So you can what was that in scepter, how the authorization and tokenization you work, right? How the auth zero work, right? There is concept or service, how you make a or service can active can deactive, right? These kind of question they mainly ask, right? So be prepared on that part also, right? And there is like there is one more concept they ask, like run the code outside the angular zones, right? How you run that code, right? So how heavy in the heavy competition computation. So like what was the use of ng zone, right? This kind of how you optimize the performance, right? uh, how the chain detection technique is work, right? So this kind of question they ask. What was the features module of routing defined, right? What kind of routing is used, right? And this kind of question is very important for that, right? So you need to prepare this kind of question, mainly question I cover, right? If you go like prepare this question, right, you definitely chance to succeed during the interview, right? And you need to know the what was the every year introduce new version, right? So what was the latest features of that version, right? They also ask this kind of question, what was the latest like features of the new version, like angular 16. So what difference between the angular 16 to angular 12? This kind of question they ask, right? And also what was the issue in the angular js, why the angular angular new angular plus introduced, right? What was the issue in that? What was the they ask also, right? This kind of what was this like pipe, right? Different kind of pipe, how you use, right? Pure pipe, impure pipe, what was the difference between pure and impure pipe, right? How you make currency changes, all these things, right? And also they can ask subscribe, right? And there is multiple thing in the they also ask uh, state management thing, right? Redux, right? So you can prepare that part also, how redux work, right? And they can also ask I guess there is a bundling concept, right? How you bundle, how you increase the size of the bundle. Let's say we have lot of component, how you prune that thing, right? Just like that, we have large size of application, right? So how you prune, how you remove unwanted CSS, how, right? So instead of removing one by one, there is any command for that, right? How you reduce the bundle size, right? And this kind of like be prepared for this kind of thing also. And there is one more concept, yeah, promises, right? Promises very important. Set time out promises, like, right? Reject, and subscribe. There is in the RxJS library we have like fork join, right? How you subscribe alternative to API. Asynchronous call, synchronous call, what the difference between the asynchronous, synchronous, right? So this kind of concept you need to be prepared on that. So yeah, if you prepare the what I tell, right, area, right, your 90% chance to you succeed in during the Angular interview, right? And firstly they ask basic, in the my previous video you can see the basic, like basic JavaScript question. They start from the basic, right? HTML, CSS, basic JavaScript question. Then they come to Angular, right? They definitely ask this question, right? So if you prepare this, what I tell, right, each and every concept and question, right, definitely you succeed. Yeah. So if you have any doubt while the course, right, how you, and also think, right, if you impress the interviewer, right, you need to know with example also, right? Definition is not like always work, right? You need to give us example for that, right? You can see how I give every concept, I give the one example, right? You can see, right? So you need to give the example also, right? So interviewer got impressed, right? So this kind of question you be prepared, right? So in the next like in the next I tell you the React JS also question, right? So um, please follow and subscribe that channel. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thanks everyone.